It's Jillian. Wow, I slept really good. Had one weird dream about maggots, but that was it. I didn't even look it up, so I should look up. Why did I dream about maggots? It's a dream analysis maggots. This ought to be interesting. Wow. To see maggots in your dream typically represents your anxieties about death. It can also suggest comes from a negligence and lack of care. Maggots can represent negative yet lingering emotions that have come to life. Oh, I would not doubt it. I mean, when you are going through an evolution, an upgrade, like the COVID and all that stuff, and I have a little tiny rash in between my fingers here. One little tiny. I don't wear or use antibacterial soap, or I don't use like what do you call it? I don't use hand sanitizers. Okay. So little bumps up occasionally on my arm, but nothing major. It was just interesting. But I did have a dream, like a very vivid dream about maggots. Um, yeah, I guess this is almost like a foretelling, not so much about me, but about what's going on in the world. I mean, if I'm getting these little types of symptoms, and I definitely do take naps when I need to. So I know a lot of stuff is going on and in the atmosphere, and it's affecting a lot of different people. So, so anyway, so let's see. I want to cover this about communism and self-replication. Let me cover self-replication first. Okay, so one second, I'm drinking my coffee. If you can self-replicate at the micro level, you can self-replicate at the macro level. And since you are made up of a microbiome, which is viruses, parasites, protozoa, protein, fungus, and bacteria, then at least probably 5 out of the 6 things. Because viruses cannot self-replicate. They have to be attached to a host. That host is a protein that should be able to self-replicate as long as the microbes that are supporting that protein are able to self-replicate. So if you are killing off microbes, if you're taking antimicrobials and you're taking antibiotics, anti-inflammatories, and anti-parasitics, and antifungals, and antivirals, then you are killing off the body's ability to self-replicate. Okay, and then it cannibalizes itself because you're killing off the messengers in the body. Because yes, I have outlined in my book, I have given you guys a brief description of your microbiome. I mean, I talk about viruses and their position in the world. I talk about bacterias. And bacteria, when you actually take jelly juice, you're going to be help breaking down the food. Okay, you're going to be able to absorb the nutrients. You're going to heal and seal. That's why jelly juice is so revolutionary and evolutionary, because you're actually bringing in the correct microbes to be able to assist in the healing and regeneration process. So you can finally get off that second law of thermodynamics and actually be in negentropy with low level entropy so you don't freaking die. And I talk about bacteriophages, okay, which are bacteria that have been influenced by viruses. Okay, and that's what the COVID vaccine is trying to do, is trying to look for those bacteriophages that have been influenced by the virus and trying to do a search and destroy, and that actually is going to hurt you in the long run. Oh, but you won't feel pain. Okay. And so I talk about, everything that's in the microbiome. Okay? And I mean, it's a very short book because I really wanted to make it very, very, very thin, because and it is a pamphlet type of thing, because yes, it gives you an overview of what's in your microbiome. It gives you an overview of the benefits of sugar and salt, not to discriminate, and why you need the food supply. But it also has a Jelly Juice protocol, the updated version of the Jelly Juice protocol, and it helps you or it gives you an idea of how to use Jilly Juice topically and internally for your healing process. Now, I could use Jilly Juice on my finger, but I really don't care. I don't mind dealing with, you know, a little bit of an uncomfortableness. It's like a little bit of a sore, but that's it. It really is nothing horrible. But it is from the COVID, okay? So you know the COVID is making its way everywhere and it's affecting people differently. It's affecting people differently. And so you must understand that this we are entering into what some people are fearing, yes, you know, a type of communism, but it's a better type of entrance into a type of communism, and I'll tell you why. Because you are given a choice, especially in America. In other countries, I can't speak for other countries that are third world. It's going to be pretty grim in places like the Philippines and places that have a lot more third world status than not. I mean, America, yeah, you could say we're kind of third world, but not really. I mean, we are and we are not. Yeah, we have a poor community. Yeah, we have definitely indigent people in our society, and there's definitely, but it's a little bit different. Our poor type of people here are probably the rich type of people over in third world countries. So I wouldn't even constitute America having really any kind of third world status or third world country status in some places, because even people here who are really poor probably have a better access to resources than those that live like in Ethiopia or something. Okay? So I posted about like on my in the page about all the different types of genocide or different types of killings that, you know, that are associated with communism, that have been associated with communism, and that is, you know, before the Jeju. So those of you that know about Jejus, I'm telling you, you have a choice. You have a choice, and if you're in a first world country, if you're in the West or a first world country, you have a better opportunity of living through all of this depopulation than somebody in a third world status that doesn't have access to resources or as much access to resources as you do. So you really have to count your blessings, your access to resources. But what's going to happen is, yes, instead of people experiencing what would be that list of what would be type of like a communist slash depopulation, like a genocide, politicide, Holocaust, democide, mass killing. Okay, I'm not gonna read all of them, but you can read it. Repression, classicide, all that's crimes against humanity. I mean, yeah, you see all these things, and you really think that those that are the architects of a depopulation agenda is going to even have anything remotely look like this overtly? It may happen in other parts of the world, that it's not within the purview, it's not within the view of Americans, because yeah, I mean, the Americans and the West and all of that, we don't like this, though yes, some people say that we may have commit this in other places, but I can't speak to that, and I'm not even gonna worry about it. Okay? But these types of crimes against humanity, it's not gonna be overt. It's not gonna happen in your neighborhood in like Ohio or in California. Okay? So what's going to happen is there going to be a virus. That's what I'm saying. There's a totally different way to scale down the population without coming into your house or carting you off to a FEMA camp or a concentration camp. There's a totally different way to scale down the useless eaters. Okay? And that is through virus. That is through biotech. That is through modern medicine. That is through the herbal remedies in the holistic allopathic. Instead of destroying someone at the macro level where you're like, oh my God, you're watching in horror, you're gonna want to they want you to want to destroy yourself in a lot of ways. Because you've already been conditioned that you don't want to feel pain, it's okay to die, and eventually you're gonna get some kind of disease. And so yeah, and then now with this COVID, and this virus does exist, and with this COVID, it's going to be used as that tool. But yes, they're going to say, hey, you know, you need to social distance, you need to wear a mask, you need to, I don't know, whatever their recommendations are to protect yourself. But they know very well how humans operate, and a lot of humans who don't like being told what to do, especially in America, they're going to totally resist and do the complete opposite. And if they're not doing J-Juice, yeah, they're going to put themselves in hot water at some point. It may not happen right away. Remember, there's an incubation period. And then one day you wake up and you're like, holy crap, what is going on? And you can barely breathe and you have all these different heart palpitations. You're not doing JJ's, of course. And then you're going to the hospital, getting on a ventilator or whatever else. And that is the depopulation agenda, because they know, who's they? Those that, okay, viruses can be organically like released in the universe because it's just, a natural occurrence between the relationships and the symbiotic nature of biodiversity. What's biodiversity? It's everything that's living. It's animals, plants, fungus, humans, insects, all of that. You go outside, that's biodiversity. You go inside, that's biodiversity. Okay? So biodiversity is always going to have, some kind of low-level virus, flu virus, but man can amplify. I use the word amplify because I really like that word. I saw that word in some description of something and I really like it. But man can amplify the characteristics of the evolution in a person's body with a virus. And so, which means that if they know that most people can't take evolutions of a virus on a mass scale, and that's why some people don't get the vaccinations, right? Because that's too much evolution on a body that really is ill-equipped. Well, what's naturally going to happen? Your body's going to accelerate the decay process. The entropy is going to be accelerated. Because the amount of energy for the body, remember, this is about thermodynamics, the amount of energy it takes to evolve on a body that doesn't have what it takes, it's going to eat itself alive. It's called cannibalization of yourself. So, yeah, they're not going to practice all these things that I just said. They're not going to do crimes against humanity or class-side or repression or mass killing. It's going to be like, oh, you have a virus. I'm so sorry. Here, take this. Here, take that. It's going to be done through your friends and family, your friends that are doctors, your families that are nurses. Oh, here, take this vaccine, which inherently is not bad. However, there are people that have a very sensitive system that don't have what it takes to be able to go through that evolution, and the body will cannibalize itself slowly, and then it will accelerate as they keep getting exposed to new viruses in the environment that will cause the body to evolve yet again, cause more energy, which is replication. But if your reserves are low or non-existent, then the body will cannibalize itself. It's thermodynamics. It's straight thermodynamics. So that's why at this point, this communist red scare that those of you who are on the complete right are so afraid of, if you have access to Jilly Juice and you have access to take control of your body through this virus and all this stuff that's going on, don't worry about it. Just make sure that you replicate, regenerate, you heal and seal at the micro level, and you get out of the war. But I'm telling you, when you look at history does repeat itself, but it shape shifts. The only way you can change the course of history or change and not have it repeat itself is if you actually change the biochemistry, and that means you, instead of being on a death trajectory, which all the different political things that happened in the past, political genocide happened in the past, that was all based upon dying bodies. So it was easy to just be like, okay, well, we'll just keep doing this. But people are becoming like, okay, we don't want any more death and destruction and democide and mass killings and repression, which, some of it's going to happen. You're going to see shades of it, of course. You're going to see shades of it, and yeah, it happens in China, because of the people that that practice religions that they're not supposed to, and they've been given a choice. You denounce Jesus, which, okay, you still believe in life, so you just can't say the word Jesus. Okay, you denounce Jesus, you can't practice your religion, and you'll live. And then people are like, well, I'm going to practice my religion anyways. I'm going to do this anyways. And then they're given a choice, and they choose to be this way. Then fine, you've chosen then to die for your beliefs, and then that's exactly what was the intention to begin with. Because again, they have 1 billion people. It's like, you're expendable if you can't follow the party line, so to speak. And I know it sounds rather grim, but that's the reality. Okay, so different when you work for a company. If you're not following the party line, you get fired. If you don't come to work every day at 5 o'clock in the morning or this time every morning, and you're late every single day, Well, we have no other choice but to fire you because you're not following the protocols that we have in place. And that's no different than any country. Okay? Yeah, so this is, some people are afraid of communism. Why did Americans fear communism? After World War II, Americans became fearful of the threat of Soviet communism. This fear was fed by the news media and politicians who portrayed the Soviets as bent on world domination. In communist nations, people were not allowed to own land, follow their religious beliefs, or speak and act freely. Americans were afraid that the Soviets would take over the U.S. and take away their freedoms. President Harry Truman established a policy of containment towards the Soviet Union. The idea was not to fight a war with the Soviets, but rather to keep them from extending their existing boundaries. American leaders believed that the Soviets were determined to impose its beliefs and control over the rest of the world. Now, this is all like very political, okay? Very, very political. And at some point, we're going to have to take the politics out of biology, because remember, not everybody died during these times of genocide, whatever, Holocaust, all these things. But certain people were chosen. Why were they chosen? Because of many different reasons, blaming, whatever. And so we already know what happened in the Holocaust. We know what happened even in during, China, the Great Leap Forward, and the destruction of the intellectuals. And so it's already been annotated. It's all over Wikipedia, okay? Wikipedia is like the most pervasive web document that it's always, being modified. And it's a crowdsourcing type of website, which, okay, fine, but you have to substantiate your findings. Okay, fine. So they're not going to repeat what happened in history. It's going to be done very differently. But here's the thing. You now have a choice with J-Juice. You have to understand where J-Juice comes into all of this. Yeah, okay, so now you have to be at home. You have to stay at home. No, you have to do social distancing because of the whole virus thing, whatever. You have to wear a mask. Okay, fine. There's ways around that. You could, get a mesh mask and take off the second layer, and you're able to breathe a bit better, or don't go out as much. Yeah, you're entering into a depopulation, and it's going to be for a while. And this is the scaling down of the population. But you have the chance to counter that by balancing your own thermodynamics, by understanding thermodynamics, by understanding that you need to save your energy for yourself, because it's only get more aggressive. You must regenerate at the micro level. You cannot afford to expend the amount of energy you guys are trying to expend on a body that's already has predispositions. Okay? And so what this thing with communism, yeah, I mean, I don't love the depopulation agenda. I really don't. It's not. But then we know we have imbalances in our society, and we have political parties that are imbalanced, and we have people in the political parties that are imbalanced, and they are, it's taxing our infrastructure, it's taxing people's, stress levels, it's taxing everything, okay? And so, yeah, it's going to be like doing away with those, like, I think Luke Radowski posted something of a guy who is one of the ministers or whatever leaders in in Biden's cabinet who is okay with people who are 75 and want to, and saying that it's okay to pass away at 75, that people who are 75 should be okay with being the first to be taken away or to being destroyed. And I'm like, okay, we have a lot of dinosaurs in biology. We have a lot of dinosaurs in university. We have a lot of dinosaurs in the government, and maybe there needs to be a change. And so now that you have the power with the J-Juice to be able to reverse your situation, let people do what they do. Don't worry about being scared of all what's going on, because you have the power to reverse that. You have access to salt, you have access to cabbage, you have access to kale, food, and water, and all that stuff, and time, you have shelter, But yeah, so I wouldn't worry about that. And as far as, predatory stuff, yeah, competition does breed predators. And so And when competition breeds predators, and yeah, capitalism does breed predators too, then the only natural thing to go to is like communism, which I never thought I'd actually even say this, but it's so true because yes, when you are in a competition with somebody, it brings out the predatory nature in a person, and then the strategy on how to take them down. Because just like Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan, the Olympics brings out the predatory nature in all the Olympians because they want to be number one. They want to be the best in the world. All the sports. I played soccer and all the different sports and competitions, and companies that are like competing with each other. Manufacturer competition creates predatory types of behaviors. When you think someone is smarter than you and you want to take them down, or if you don't believe in what they believe in, the competition of like, oh, they can't speak this because it's going to go against this. The predatory nature comes out, and then people cross boundaries. People cross boundaries. And when you breed competition into a population, yes, it manifests in predators and prey, and then it's also easier to profile people. They have more predictable actions and reactions, and so it's easier to control a predictable population who works from archetypes. So I know I'm kind of all over the place on this transmission, but I really wanted to give those that are so afraid of the communism, like I can't watch the news anymore. Like I can't listen to Biden. I mean, Trump was more entertaining. Trump is Trump and he has his beliefs and he played his role and whatever. He was more entertaining. It's like, watching Mr. Rogers versus, Ben Stiller. I like watching Ben Stiller. He's far more entertaining than Mr. Rogers, but, someone else could say the difference. They like Mr. Rogers over Ben Stiller. So I liked watching Trump because he was entertaining. But I can't watch Biden anymore. I just can't. I don't care what they put into place. They'll put so much in place. They'll be doing the vaccines. They'll be doing social distancing. They'll be doing, who the hell knows. And you know what? I got J-Juice. I have a handle on my own thermodynamics. I don't care what they put into place. If they come to my house and threaten my life, anybody does, that's when I'll defend myself. But other than that, this fear of what could happen or what's to be or what there's, I don't take a side in any religion. I don't take a side in politics. I don't take a side in anything. When you don't take a side, you are now finally free from all of that enslavement. That's what I'm trying to get across, is that when you have to take a side, you are enslaved to a belief system that is causing you to then work from your emotions and your reactions. And so when you finally free yourself from having to take a side, then you won't fall into all these categories and you won't need to go and protest. You won't need to feel like you should be afraid of whatever they roll out, okay? Because let me tell you, the population will not allow anyone to actually overtly destroy them. We've already been through it. You just look at the past. Look what happened, the Holocaust. Look what happened during the Great Leap Forward, the Chinese Revolution, whatever that is, Chinese intellectual revolution. Well, look what happened during the Bolsheviks, during the Russian revolutions and all that stuff. Okay, so history is not going to repeat itself in the way that you think. It may in different ways, but at least now you'll have a choice. And all of us are non-enemy combatants. All that. That's why there's no more wars. There is no enemy combatant. Yeah, you hear about, okay, ISIS did this on like end times headlines, whatever. But you're not you're not in a Middle Eastern country. You're in America. They don't worry about that. Let them figure that out. Okay? So there really is no enemy combatant. Now it's, can you handle biologically your environment? And it's very easy to pinpoint specific genomes in cultures if you really want to go that deep. And if you really want to genocide a population, just look at the predominant genetic makeup of each culture. And that's very easy to take, proteins and monoclonal antibodies and program them to do a search and destroy. But with the Jejus doesn't discriminate. So you'll be able to handle whatever the system throws at you. That's why you have to understand Jejus on such a level so you're not in fear of freaking everything. You're not in fear of your neighbor, you're not in fear of the government, you're not in fear of other countries, you're not in fear of anyone. You just like, okay, I gotta deal with the healing, I gotta drink something that doesn't taste very good, doesn't taste sweet. Okay, big deal. Haven't you taken medicine before where it didn't taste good? My God, that's what ruined people is that they've made medicine taste so good. So people are like, oh, I want to eat the medicine. No, and something that tastes really bad that is probiotic is probably the best for you. Okay? So, I don't know. You guys will figure it out. But today is 11/11/2020. I keep seeing 11 the last couple, yesterday I just kept seeing my phone says 11, says 11, 11. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what 11 means. But today's 11/11, and just do the Jejus. Get off the battlefield, man. Get off the battlefield because that's your enslavement. When you take a side, I don't care what it is, that is your enslavement. And then you are subject to whatever those rules are when you take a side. And then you'll inevitably support something that you actually are against. So, anyways, I'm going to go write some stuff. But, yeah. Yeah. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye.